Welcome. Welcome to my kitchen, and today we're going to be making some biscuit pudding. Now, if you were with me the other day, yesterday, I went ahead and made these biscuits. The whole purpose of it was to use those biscuits for this biscuit pudding. Now, if you don't have biscuits, you can follow the same recipe and use bread instead. The only thing I'd recommend, don't go buy bread at the store unless it doesn't have any preservatives in it. Almost every bread that you get at the store has preservatives in it. If you got a local farmer's market or somebody who makes homemade bread, get some of that and make sure it doesn't have preservatives in it. The reason being is that when you sit it out and let it go stale, it just doesn't get stale the way it needs to, and then it doesn't soak up the liquids like it should. But easy way to avoid all that, just make some biscuits. And like I said, I made biscuits just for this recipe yesterday. I'll put a link in my description of that video showing how I make my biscuits. And again, I said it yesterday, there's 10 different ways, hundreds of ways to make biscuits, just one way that I make them. So one thing that's unique about the way I make biscuit pudding, and this goes way back, the recipe I use has been around for a long time, is that I use a water bath when I make it. And I find that that works out well. I've tried some different recipes. This is a recipe that I use when I make biscuit pudding. So a water bath, of course, is when you have two containers. And the way I do it, the actual bread pudding is going to be put in this 2-quart Pyrex dish. And what I use for my water bath, then, I have a 4-quart Pyrex dish that I use for my water bath. Now, when you use Pyrex, you got to be careful. They call it unbreakable. Nothing's unbreakable, and you got to be real careful with it, especially when you're heating it up or pouring hot liquids in it. One of the things you never want to do is just boil water, pour it into a cold Pyrex dish, because you're just asking for trouble. So when I use a 2-quart baking dish for my biscuit pudding, and I know I'm using the 4-quart there, I know how much water I need. I need 4 cups. What you would want to do is just put your container inside what you're going to use for your water bath, and just pour water into it. And you want to get it up about an inch or so. I mean, that's what I found works pretty well for me. And then all I do is, once I put water in there, find out how much I need, I'll just take that out and I'll just dump it in something to heat it up. So if you can heat it up on a stove in a kettle. I'm just going to throw mine in the microwave right now just for convenience. So once that's warmed up, I'm just going to put it in my water bath container, and I'm going to put it in the oven, and then I'm going to preheat the oven for 325 degrees. So that's all there is to it to get started. So let me go ahead and heat up my water, and we'll get the water bath going. So this recipe is super easy. You just start with 3 large eggs, and you just want to whisk them a little bit. And then all you want to do is you want to add a teaspoon of vanilla. A little extra for good measure. I like the vanilla. And then you're going to whisk in, they call for 3/4 cup of sugar. I'm not real big on sweet stuff, so I usually cut that back. So I actually got about a half a cup, between half a cup and 3/4 cup. So you just want to get that in there and just kind of mix it together. So next you got 3 cups of milk. I use whole milk. I think it tastes better, but you know, you use whatever you want to use. And this you just stir in. I mean, that's it. I don't know how you can get easier than that. But it smells good already. We haven't even started baking it yet. So we're gonna let that sit. And the next step is we have our 2-quart pan here. And I got 7 biscuits left over from what I made yesterday. I ate one of them. So I got 7 left. And what you wanna do is, they call for 6 about 3-inch size biscuits, and I use 6, 7, you know, nothing here is ever precise. So what you want to do is just take your biscuits, and I just kind of crumble them up. Some people will cut them and slice them. I just kind of like to crumble them up in there. But like I said, we made these biscuits yesterday, and I'll put a link in the video description how we made them. And like I said, these are day old, so you don't want to use them the same day. You just want them to get a little bit stale, a little bit hard. And with biscuits, it doesn't take long for that to happen. So the next step, and this is optional, if you like raisins, I got about a 1/4 cup of raisins here. So I like raisins in them, so I'll just sprinkle about 1/3 cup of raisins in there. And that's it for that part. And then that mixture that we made, just stir that a little bit more. And then all we're going to do is we're just going to pour that over our biscuits. So I'm just going to kind of pat that down just a little bit. Now you can put nutmeg in it now, or if you like nutmeg or you like cinnamon. I usually don't put that in until after it's baked a little while. So that's pretty much it. So what we're going to do now, we're just going to take that and we're going to put it in our water bath. It takes about an hour to cook it all, so we're going to check it every so often. I'm going to set the timer for about 55 minutes. I'll come back and check it. When you check it, the way you check it, there's, if you have a cake tester, you can use that. If you have a toothpick, you can use that. What I do, I normally don't have toothpicks, and I used to have a cake tester. I'm not sure what it even is anymore. I'll be honest with you, I just use a butter knife, and I go in about an inch, inch and a half from the end. I'll stick it in, and as long as it comes back clean, I know it's done. So, but if you have a toothpick or whatever, you can do that. So I'll see you in about 55 minutes to an hour, and we'll see how it is. So I checked it at an hour, and it still wasn't fully cooked. Like I said, I just use a butter knife and stick it in there and see if it sticks to it, and it was still sticking a little bit. So I gave it another 5 minutes, still sticking a little bit. Ended up with an hour 10, and now it's cooked. So let me bring it out, and I'll show it to you. So there we go. I don't know how well you can see that. It looks delicious. And it's not overcooked. It looks real good. So, and again, let me just show you how I test it. If you don't have a cake tester, all I do is I just use a butter knife, and I'll just go around, and usually in the corners I'll just check it to make sure nothing comes up, and it looks clean. So we're ready to go. So we're gonna let it cool just for a minute or two, or maybe just a couple more minutes than that, and then I'll pull a piece off. One of the things that you can do at this point, you probably noticed, I didn't put any cinnamon or nutmeg on it. Everybody has different preferences for cinnamon, nutmeg. The recipe that I have, which is an old recipe, it actually calls for cinnamon sugar. And like I said, I'm not really into the sweet part of it, so I don't use cinnamon sugar. I do have cinnamon. So what I normally do at this point, I'll just open it up, and I'm just gonna sprinkle some cinnamon on top. So we're gonna let that cool off here, and then I'll get a spoon, and then we'll try a little bit of the biscuit pudding. So we let it cool off just for a few minutes. So let me go ahead and take a bite. Actually, I might take more than one bite. Yeah, you can see how that turned out. Delicious. So, I don't know how you can see the texture of that. It's like a custard with the bread and everything else. Just really, really turned out nice. So let me get a fork and I'll have a little bit of that. Still pretty hot, so I'm just going to eat just a little bit right now. It just brings back memories of when I was a little kid. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this recipe of biscuit pudding. And like I said, you can make bread pudding. You can really follow the same recipe and just use bread if you want. But I'll tell you what, I love biscuit pudding. And I do hope you enjoyed this recipe. And if you did, please like the video. If you want to see more like this, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to try to keep making videos like this, just trying to remember the beauty of yesterday and growing up in the hills. Like I said, my family's from West Virginia, so that's kind of the tradition that I follow. So I hope you enjoyed this, and like I said, happy cooking to you, and I look forward to see you next time. Bye-bye.